This is Frederick Douglass's speech, the meaning of 4th of July for the Negro. Fellow citizens, I am not wanting in respect for the fathers of this republic. The signers of the Declaration of Independence were brave men. They were great men, too great enough to give fame to a great age. It does not often happen to a nation to raise, at one time, such a number of truly great men. The point from which I am compelled to view them is not certainly the most favorable, and yet I cannot contemplate their great deeds with less than admiration. They were statesmen, patriots, and heroes, and for the good they did, and the principles they contended for, I will unite with you to honor their memory. Fellow citizens, pardon me, allow me to ask, why am I called upon to speak here today? What have I, or those I represent, to do with your national independence? Are the great principles of political freedom and natural justice embodied in that Declaration of Independence extended to us? Am I therefore called upon to bring our humble offering to the national altar, and confess the benefits and express devout gratitude for the blessings resulting from your independence to us. But such is not the state of the case, and I say it with a sad sense of disparity between us. I am not included within the pale of glorious anniversary. Your high independence only reveals the immeasurable distance between us. The blessing in which you this day rejoice are not in common the rich inheritance of justice, liberty, prosperity, and independence, breathed by your fathers. It is shared by you, not by me. The sunlight that brought light and healing to you has brought stripes and death to me. This 4th of July is yours, not mine. You may rejoice, I must mourn. To drag a man in fetters to the grand illuminated temple of liberty, I call upon him to join you in joyous anthems for inhuman mockery and sacrilegious irony. Do you mean, citizens, to mock me by asking me to speak today? If so, there is a parallel to your conduct. And let me warn you that it is dangerous to copy the example of a nation whose crimes, towering up to heaven, were thrown down by the breath of the Almighty, burying the nation in irrevocable ruin. I can today take up the plaintive lament of a peeled and woe-smitten people. Fellow citizens, above your national tumultuous joy, I hear the mournful wail of millions, whose chains, heavy, grievous yesterday, are today rendered more intolerable by the jubilee shouts that reach them. If I do forget, I do not faithfully remember those bleeding children of sorrow this day. May my right hand forget her cunning, and may my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth. To forget them, to pass lightly over the wrongs, and to chime in with popular theme, would be the reason that most scandalous and shocking, and would make me a reproach before God and the world. My subject, then, fellow citizens, is American slavery. I shall see this day and its popular characteristics from the slave's point of view. Standing there identified with the American bondman makes his wrongs mine. I do not hesitate to declare with all my soul that the character and conduct of this nation never looked blacker to me than on this 4th of July. Whether we turn the declarations of the past or the professions of the present, the conduct of the nation seems equally hideous and revolting. America is the false to the past, false to the present, and solemnly binds herself to the false of the future. Standing with God and the crushed and bleeding slave on this occasion, I will, in the name of humanity, which is outraged, in the name of liberty, which is fettered, in the name of the Constitution and the Bible, which are disregarded and trampled upon, I dare to call in question to denounce, with all emphasis I can command, everything that serves to perpetuate slavery, the great sin and shame of America. I will not evacuate, I will not excuse. I will use the severest language I can command, and not one word shall escape me that any man whose judgment is not blinded by prejudice, or is not at heart a slaveholder, shall confess to be right and just. What point in the anti-slavery creed would you have me argue? On what branch of the subject do you think the people of this country need light? I must undertake to prove that the slave is a man. The point is conceded already. Nobody doubts it. The slaveholders themselves acknowledge in the enhancement of the laws for their government. They acknowledge it when they punish the disobedience on the part of the slave. There are 72 crimes in the state of Virginia which, if committed by a black man, no matter how ignorant he may be, subject him to the punishment of death, where only 2 of the same crimes will subject a white man to the punishment. What is this but the acknowledgement that a slave is a moral, intellectual, and responsible being? The manhood of a slave is conceded. It is admitted to the fact that the Southern statute books are covered with enhancements forbidding under severe fines and penalties the teaching of a slave to read and write. When you can point to any such laws in reference to the beasts of the field, then I must consent to argue the manhood of a slave. When the dogs in your streets, when the fowls of the air, when the cattle of your hills, when the fish of the sea, and the reptiles that crawl shall be unable to distinguish the slave from a brute, then I will argue with you that a slave is a man.